Hi everyone, I hope you're all well and enjoying working from home. So still on the topic of algebra and looking at simplifying, but in this lesson your learning objectives are to multiply and divide simple algebraic expressions. Okay, so here's a little recap for you then. So if you can get yourselves a pen and paper, write out the question and then pause this video, and then when you're ready to mark your answer, press play and I'll be going through the answer with you. Okay, so if we read the question first, to fill in a block you must add the values on the two blocks directly below it. Some values are already displayed. Fill in the empty blocks. You must simplify your answer, and there's 2 marks here for part A and 3 marks for part B. Okay, so if we quickly have a look at A. So it tells you that to fill in a block, you must add the values on the 2 blocks directly below it. So if we look at 3A, the way that you've got the answer of 3A is that you have added these 2 blocks that are directly below it. So 2A plus A would be 3A. Okay. And so here you may think, well, A plus what? Well, there's not enough information here to fill in either of these 2 blocks. Then you may look at 3A here. 3A plus what is going to give you an answer of 8A. Okay, so try out these questions, and when you're ready, press play and I'll be going through the answers with you. Okay, hopefully you've attempted these questions yourselves. So, we were working on answering this, filling in this block here. So 3A add what would give you 8A. Well, 3 apples add 5 apples would be 8 apples. Okay, and that 5A there, if you've got that, that is 1 mark. Okay, and then we can use that now to help us fill in this block here. So A plus what is going to be 5A. Well, an apple add 4 apples is 5 apples. And again, that's a mark for that block. Okay, moving on to looking at question B. Here then, you've got 5x plus what is going to be 9x. Well, that would be 4x. Now we have these 2 blocks here, which we can add to find this empty block here. Okay, so you may want to write that out. 4x plus minus 2x plus y. Well, it does say that you must simplify your answer. So if you did write that answer in that block, you wouldn't get the mark for this. So here we've got 4x plus minus. Remember when we did work on negative numbers, 2 signs are next to each other like that. We circle and replace. The signs are different, so it's a negative. And now we can go ahead and simplify using the skills that we learned last lesson, where we collect like terms. So 4x minus 2x is 2x. Those are the like terms here. And then plus y is a term by itself. So the answer in this block here is going to be 2x plus y. And now we add these 2 blocks together to give us the answer to fill in this empty block at the top. So here we have 9x plus 2x plus y. Again, we need to simplify this by collecting like terms. So 9x plus 2x are like terms, would be 11x plus y, which then you fill in this empty block here with that. So there's 3 marks here, a mark for each correct block. Okay, so I'm sure hopefully you've done really well with that. I know that the question looks a little bit different to what we've seen before, and you'll have that in your exam, so it's important to be flexible and to be able to apply our skills that we learn to any question, because you have that understanding there. It's just applying it to a more of a problem type question. So well done you. I'm sure you will have done well with that. Let's look at simplifying using multiplying and dividing then. So just a little useful tips then on a few rules that it's important to remember when simplifying using multiplying and dividing. So remember that anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So if you had 0 times x, your answer would be 0. Or if you had 2a times 0, your answer would be 0. Secondly then, anything multiplied by 1 is itself. So remember, if you have 5x squared multiplied by 1, your answer would be 5x squared. And also remember that x means 1x. Okay. Thirdly then, multiplying something by itself is called squaring. So remember, when we've done the topic of types of numbers, if you have x times x, anything multiplied by itself is squared. And then remember, anything multiplied by itself 3 times is cubed. Okay, and fourth then, when multiplying in algebra, we don't always use the multiplying sign, so we don't tend to see it at all, if I'm honest. So a times b would just be written as ab. Okay, if we had 5 times a, you would just write down 5a. Okay, so just remember that we don't tend to use the time sign. The reason for that is to be able to distinguish between x, which is an unknown, that times then by 3, you'd write that as, we'd actually write that as 3x. The number tends to be first. Okay, so we don't put the multiplying sign in algebra. So let's put these rules to the test then. So here are some examples. So simplify the following expressions. So here we have x times 0, that would be 0. Here we have x times 1, that would be 1x, but we tend to write x. Okay, we don't write the number 1 to show that there's one lot of something in algebra. X times 2 would be written as 2x, and then x times x is going to be x squared. Okay, so hopefully you remember those. Let's increase the difficulty a little bit then and try out these examples. So here, simplify these expressions. B times 2a, you'd write that as 2ab. We tend to write the letters in algebraic order. So remember, that means 2 times a times b, which means the same then as b times 2a. Here, when multiplying terms like this, I tend to look at the numbers first. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then I look at the letters. X times y is xy. Now, sometimes when looking at algebra, you could confuse between what we learnt last lesson and this lesson. Now remember, when we're adding and subtracting, it's as easy as apples and bananas. 5 apples take away 2 apples is 3 apples. Okay, when we're multiplying, remember, it's bringing them together, and it's more about changing the powers, learning from indices then. Looking at this third question here, coming back to this, 5a times 2b, multiply the numbers first. 5 times 2 is 10, and then a times b would be ab. This question, 3a times 6a, look at the numbers, 3 times 6 is 18, a times a would be a squared. Okay, so remember, you have done this at the start of year 9, so hopefully, Google MyMaths or type in www.mymaths.co.uk, log in using the school username and password. If this decides to work, my Wi-Fi must be running slow. Then when you get into MyMaths, you need to have your own personal username and password. So we all have different username and passwords for this that we can access and complete our online homework, which is then sent to your teacher. So the homework that I'd like you to be looking at is called Simplyfing 2. So you should have completed Simplifying 1. Click on Simplifying 2, and if you want, you can work through the lesson, which has got interactive worksheets and exercises throughout it to help you. So for example, here you could work through that. It's very similar to that we've been through together. And here, this is very similar to the one that we've been through as well, if you wanted some extra help and to mark it. But what I would like you to do is the online homework. Okay, so if you click on that, and then it'll take you here. Now remember, you can attempt these homeworks as often as you want. So if you attempt, I've seen some of you have had a score of maybe 70%. You want to improve on that, just try the online homework again, and that'll come through to us then. So simplify these expressions. It tells you here to input an @ symbol to mean squared and a hashtag symbol for cubed. So for example here, 2a times 4a